everybody. I'm your host, Kat Cassidy, and you are now watching Tucson Taboo and Underground. Today we have amazing, beautiful, sexy, local burlesque dancer, Pisa Cake. All right, thank you for coming down and talking with us.
No problem.
So how long have you been doing burlesque?
I've been performing officially for about a little over 2 years, but I've been studying burlesque in some capacity for probably about 4 years.
Oh, when and how did you get started?
Well, I heard about a burlesque themed dance class that Black Cherry Burlesque was offering probably about 4 years ago. My friend and I took it, and then we kind of were like, this is amazing, we want to do this.
Are you part of a burlesque group here in Tucson, or do you do kind of like your own thing?
I do my own thing as far as burlesque goes. Officially, I'm an independent performer, but I do some outside work with Raw Artists Tucson, and also I volunteer with some groups, and I'm in a pinup troupe called Betty Rage, but officially I'm an independent performer.
What about burlesque made you want to get into it? What made it passionate for you?
Well, it's a different way of expressing yourself through your, through your physical self. It's like expressing your emotional self through your physical movements.
Like a performance art?
Yeah, it's like, it's very sensual, and I found myself getting more in touch with my sensual side because of burlesque. That stuff I didn't even know was there that I was capable of, and going, wow, this is awesome. I'm turning myself on. This is awesome. And then I get up and turn people on in front of me, but I mean, in no way is it lewd at all. It's just titillating, it's playful, but it's still quite stimulating.
I love that answer. Tell us a little bit about your costume. Did you make this one?
Yeah, burlesque is definitely a do-it-yourself hobby. No costumes. Costumes are rarely bought already a costume. Like this I bought at a vintage store. This is vintage. And then this was just a plain red corset that I covered in, adornments. You can't see it, but I have a shimmy belt on, which is just basically a piece of fabric you sew, and then you sew fringe all over it. Makes your moves a lot bigger when you bump and grind.
Name some clubs that you've performed at, and which one has been your favorite?
Well, I've performed in Tucson, Phoenix, and Albuquerque so far. In Tucson, I performed at Plush, I performed at Flux, I performed at the Surly Wench Pub. In Phoenix, I performed at Club Red, as well as the Alwyn House. And I think, I gotta go Surly Wench because it's really the best venue for burlesque in Tucson. They have a wonderful dressing area, which is not something you come across very often. Most places you're like in the bathroom getting dressed. So definitely the Surly Wench is my favorite.
What is your number one tip for being sexy for women, if you have?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I mean, you have to be, I mean, it all goes back to what you are naturally. You have to be happy in your own skin, and burlesque has helped me to accept myself and see myself as really sexy the way I am, when I live in a society that tells me I can't have any bumps or muffin tops or my boobs are too big and jiggly. I've been told that before. So it's really a beautiful thing to be in an art where you can be accepted as you are. So my tip to women is just do whatever it takes to get comfortable in your own skin. You don't have to change to be beautiful.
I like that. Are there any unspoken rules for burlesque?
I would say quality is the biggest concern. We're living in a time now, we had this movie Burlesque that came out last year, and all over the country. I mean, like my mother-in-law took a burlesque class when she was in Las Vegas, and they taught her how to put fake eyelashes on. So I guess my point is that there's an oversaturation now. There's a lot of people learning about burlesque, which is a wonderful thing, but it's a double-edged sword because you have to really be concerned about quality, about what's going on stage and how burlesque is being represented. So it's really important that quality is maintained.
Do you have any embarrassing burlesque stories?
Yes, at my debut, which really was awful because it was my debut, I was doing a black cat act, which I wear a black pleather corset, and right as I'm laying down initially, and right as I got up, I felt the zipper split right in the middle, and so it split from the bottom to my middle, and then from my tops to this, so it was just barely connected in the middle. And of course corsets squeeze you.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't particularly the most flattering look.
Oh,
so when
wow.
I did my reveal and took off my first layer of clothes, it was kind of like I looked like a dumbbell or something. I mean, it was just, and like the corset was stuck on me so tightly that they almost had to cut me out of it. It took like 4 girls to cut me, to get me out of it, and I ripped up my stomach trying to get out of it. I had all these cuts.
Oh, wow.
So that was my debut.
Do you have any sexy, or would you consider like taboo stories of burlesque?
There's something called a merkin, which is essentially the equivalent of a pasty, but it's for your southern regions.
Oh, wow.
And in order to get said merkin to stick to your situation, you have to make sure it's very dry.
Oh.
So I've seen girls like stand in front of fans, like with their legs like a sew, and to dry things, and having conversations while they're drying, and that's probably one of the more funny things I've seen in a dressing room for sure. Are you blushing?
I am actually. What do you think of the local music and art and even burlesque scene?
I love Tucson's artistic community. I've been really lucky to work with a lot of wonderful artists at different venues and variety type shows, as well as in just burlesque shows. We have a wonderful flowering burlesque scene because of Fanny Galore School of Burlesque. So many good friends I've made as a result of those shows. It's a loving community. It's like a family. Even though I'm not in a troupe per se, I still have really great relationships with a lot of the gals, and I'm really thankful to have the sort of support structure and the mentorship that I have.
Do you have any advice for any aspiring burlesque dancers?
Well, go to Fanny Galore's School of Burlesque and take, Burlesque 101 and learn the many, many facets it takes to put an act together and get yourself out there.
And you are also nominated for the Raw Awards in November. Tell us a little bit about...
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be nominated for Raw Artist Tucson Performer of the Year, excuse me. And I'll be performing some burlesque on November 15th, competing, I think, against 4 or 5 other artists. So I hope to see some of my friends out there and voting, and maybe I can actually get an award. I would be so happy.
Do you want to reveal any details on your performance you're going to be doing that night?
It's going to be a little bit more of a deeper, more artistic piece than some of my other work, which is an area that I've been trying to push myself to go into a little bit, having to deal with body image, confidence, the journey of self as it relates to burlesque. I'm hoping it's going to be great in the process putting that together.
What is your favorite thing about burlesque?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love glitter, and I love rhinestones, and I love color, and I get to do all those things in my costume. I'm like a Macy's Day Parade float version of my real self when I do burlesque. It's so much fun to get so gussied and put glitter on everything, and you don't look garish under the stage lights, you just look sparkly. It's awesome. So
if anyone wanted to come and see you or message you or book you for something, where do we find you?
You can get to almost all my different social networking pages via my website, pisacake.net. pisacake.net, and I have a LinkedIn profile, I have Twitter, I have Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. So I'd love to connect with more people.
All right, so do you have any more performances or events coming up that you can kind of tell us?
Yeah, I have a couple events I'd really like to tell people about. First of all, on November 23rd, I'll be performing at the Surly Wench Pub as part of Black Cherry Burlesque Raw, which is a brand new thing to come to Tucson. We're doing burlesque the way it used to be done, with a live band to more traditional music, a lot of energy. It's gonna be, in fact, I was at the rehearsal this morning, and it's gonna be amazing. And the other event that I'd like to talk about is on December 1st. I'm co-producing an event called Pinups for Pets, and that's gonna also be at the Surly Wench Pub. I'm doing that in cooperation with Betty Rage Productions. And that will be an event that benefits a wonderful animal rescue group that I volunteer with called Tucson's Cares. They're an animal advocacy and adoption group. Everything is going to benefit and help the animals of Tucson Cares. It's a cause that's very near and dear to my heart, and I really hope we pack the house. All right, everybody. Thank you, Pisa, for coming in. My pleasure. And I can't wait to see your performance at the Raw Awards, November 15th. Everyone try to make it out to Plush.
and we'll see you next time. Wait, which camera do I look at?
I mean, there's nothing scandalous.
I'm sure
really.
a guy would like to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I did not even know that. And merkin is a new word for my vocabulary.
And action. Luck, let a gentleman see just how nice.